about this here in a second. They work hard. They're number one in the world as far as work hours. According to Wikipedia, or it's actually the OECD, the Organization of Economics, something or another with UN or something like that. Yeah.
Is that actual work hours or like StarCraft work hours? Because you know some of those businessmen are sitting at their desk playing like Avalon Online.
I have no idea. If you might be right. I mean, it did not say anything about efficiency.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Actually, if you talk about efficiency, I think the United States is actually one of the most efficient in terms of work hours.
Okay.
They can work 6 hours and get potentially more done.
Yeah.
So there's an argument.
Yeah.
And why I bring this up isn't necessarily because I want to show you that these guys work hard. I mean, it's pretty obvious, you know. But I bring this up because you can use this in class. You can basically say, hey kids, have you seen your parents this week? You know, have you seen them the past month? Have you seen your father for the past year? You know, the thing is, yeah, who knows where they're at? They may be at room salons, they may be, you know, playing StarCraft, they may be doing all kinds of different things. Supposedly, they're working, right? And, but regardless, they do work hard. I mean, you see it on average when you kind of look around the Korean peers. They stay late, they come early, and they just work really hard. Actually, I see a lot of my Korean counterparts in the United States. They have a hard work ethic. I don't know why and how, and if it's their Korean parents, sometimes they have the same kind of attitude, so it's kind of interesting. But you ask the kids sometimes, do you want to work as hard as your parents?
But isn't there a cultural pressure too for the provider, for the family? Isn't there a pressure?
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. It's cultural, but I would argue, and you know, we could have this discussion, it probably lasted a long time, but I think there may be the cultural impression on a lot of different cultures, but you're right, maybe this culture just kind of gives the father or whoever the breadwinner more of a guilt trip. It's hard to say. But even the women work quite hard here, as far as I can say. I mean, we were joking about this a little bit earlier before a lot of people got here. I think Korean women, for some reason, they get stronger as they get older.
Oh yeah.
I don't know what it is. It's physically, it's mentally. I mean, the grandmothers are stronger than 20-year-olds. They can put so much stuff on their back that, you know, I mean, literally, like big ass pots, you know, I've seen them carry. It's scary, actually.
Yeah.
So, but they work real hard, but the thing is the question is whether or not that's a good thing, all right? And 50 million people, we're going to talk about this here in a little bit. And the reason why I start off a little bit with this is, for the most part, I kind of worry a tad about Koreans in the future. I mean, part of my diaspora, so that's why I have some connection to it. But when I look at these kids and I look at a lot of the parents and stuff like that, and I worry about or think about the future for this country, and it's not just this country, but I actually think about where they're going to be in 50 to 100 years. Right? We're going to talk about this here in a second. But as we know, learning isn't necessarily linear, so we're not going to start with the S, we're going to start with the E here first, okay? So just a little bit of background real quick on all this statistical stuff. The reason why I call it empowerment, which I think you guys kind of know a little bit, is because for the most part, and you'll get to open up this thing in a little bit, but we already talked about how many Koreans, you guys just heard what I said, how many?
About 50.
50 million, right? You can ask the kids this. So there's about 50 million South Koreans who can speak and use English. If we exclude the North Koreans and exclude all the Koreans that have went around the world and stuff like that, we'll just use this statistic for now, right? Because this is kind of active. I mean, this is the population base that basically got them to 13th in the world, right? Let's talk about how many people who speak English throughout the world. Let's get some guesses on that. Any idea as far as how many people actually use, speak, basically take advantage of the English language throughout the world? Any idea?
2 billion.
2 billion? Good guess. 2 bill? Any others?
2.5.
2.5? Any idea how many people exist in this world? 6.5 billion, right? So that's a third if we're accurate there, right? 2.5? Any other guesses? Does that seem right? Too much? Too little?
Too much.
Too much? That's just correct, but these guys are somewhat correct too. It's about 1.8 billion according to Wikipedia. Not necessarily as the primary language, Not as necessarily the primary. Because if you look at India, for example, right? India uses English. If you actually talk to most Indian people, you can basically speak to them in English. It might be a little bit different English, but it's English, right? Philippines, same thing. Huge populations there. I think one of the African nations, I'm not sure if it's Nigeria or whatever, a huge population, a lot speak English, and actually a lot of the African nations actually use English quite a bit. But if you have America, let's guess. Well, what other countries? You guys know all the native countries. You guys are all from there. U.S., Europe to a certain degree, New Zealanders, Australia, Singapore. What's that? South Africa.
Most Scandinavian countries can speak English.
Okay, great. So you all appreciate that there's a lot of English throughout the world, right? So as English speakers, you guys can pick up and then go to almost any English country, right? How about these Koreans? Can they pick up and then go and speak Korean in another country? No. So when they're born, literally they have, 50 million people that kind of communicate, become Facebook friends and all that other good stuff, and literally they have limited ability to basically communicate, right? 50 million is still a lot, there's no question about that, right? But you can also ask these kids real quickly they're really quick with math, right? So you can ask them, I always ask this of our foreign instructors, and it usually takes a little while, but I hope we got some math whizzes here. How many times does 50 million go into 1.8 billion? You all fail. Just kidding.
3 times.
How many?
3.
3? 36. We got a math whiz here. 36 times. Actually, yes. 36 times. Yeah, you gotta put 1 0 there. Okay, yeah. 36. The kids usually will pick it up. There's always one kid in the classroom who will do this like a second and a half. 36 times. So if we just think about that real quickly, 36 times the Korean population, what it does is if a child picks up English, or actually a Korean does learn English in their life and actually becomes fluent enough, that gives them literally 3,600% more of a chance to communicate and get that many Facebook friends and all that other good stuff. And actually go to Australia, go to England, go to South Africa, New Zealand, and all those countries that you guys talked about just a little while ago. Right? Gives them opportunity. It empowers them. It literally does. And you'll see in the first, one of the first sheets in the Wikipedia article, if you look way to the bottom, I actually kind of marked something really quick. It says the internet. English is one of the primary languages used on the internet, right? Or in, I'm losing my English. Anyway, the fact of the matter is you've seen how resourceful the internet is, right? Well, if it's so resourceful and you can't read English, then you just lost that chance to basically take advantage of that. Have you guys ever heard of OCW? Any guesses what OCW is? Open Courseware? MIT? It's free MIT education. If you want to get an MIT degree without the certificate, you just go to ocw.mit.edu. They offer it. They're the first university to actually provide it back in 1991 or 1992. I can't remember what it was. They're the first to actually say, hey, there's a lot of, this is before Wikipedia, I believe. They're like, hey, we need to educate people, give the opportunity to basically get the same education regardless of tuition, as long as they had internet access, right? Before Jimmy Wales or Jim, whatever his name is from Wikipedia, actually decided to use that as his rationale for Wikipedia, there was people at MIT and other educational institutions that basically said, let's give education for free. But if you can't speak or read or write English, it's like you just lost that opportunity, right? Since then, OCW has become kind of I don't know what to call it really, but a platform or something that basically a lot more universities actually use. If you guys like education and all the free education that's out there, I know a lot of them that I can help you actually take advantage of. And one thing that CDI or Imaging is actually thinking about doing here moving forward is we're actually thinking about providing more career development stuff for you guys. If that includes educational opportunities and things like that, we want to support you. Because we know that this isn't necessarily 100% the long term. If it is, that's great. If it isn't, we don't care. We want you to be happy more than anything. Because if you're happy in your life, then you're probably going to be happier at work. So we're thinking about things like that moving forward.